So this is a time for the industry to play a key role, become a force for good and become a catalyst to create prosperity in the regions where we operate, but also provide the materials for the energy transition faster than ever before in a more responsible way, protecting the environment and improving the quality of life. And I believe it's possible, but we need to work all together and think differently. So I started a movement, accelerating the transformation, because this is our chance, our unique chance to take this opportunity and deliver those materials, but at the same time, leave behind a bright future for generations to come.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are watching or listening to the Material Business Podcast. And thank you for being part of this community. Today, I have a super special guest. We have many things in common that we just discovered by the power of networking. Doris, Hiam-Galvez. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here today.
So we're going to talk about various things: materials, metallurgy, corrosion, and how all that tie into sustainability, which is really what this podcast is about: connecting all the dots on things that we do daily as engineers, as people that work with materials, that with things that corrode, doing better designs and stuff like that. And how do we make that work checked mark with the sustainability portion? So I'm very happy that Doris accepted my invitation and is here today to share with us. So without further ado, I'm gonna read her bio. So Dr. Doris Hiam-Galvez is a senior advisor at Hatch Consulting, board director of the Prospectors and Developers Associations of Canada, an outspoken champion of sustainable development. She has a PhD in metallurgy, yay, with board senior level experience in leading organizations and driving significant expansion globally, focused on value creation. For the past 16 years, her activities at Hatch involve leading regional operations and creating new and innovative businesses in Australia, South America, Europe, and North America. Inspired by her work with global clients facing sustainability changes, she developed the Designing Sustainable Prosperity DSP, a method to create resilient and sustainable regions. Her contributions to DSP has earned her the prestigious CIM Distinguished Lecturer Award. Congratulations. And you also published recently a book that was recently out there, right? Thank you, Doris, for being with us today. I'm pretty sure I speak from all my audience that it is very, very nice to have someone with such background being part of us.
Thank you.
So tell us about what is that connection between engineering, corrosion, materials, sustainability? Where did that all come from?
Probably all come from birth. I was born loving nature and its rocks. I was fascinated by the rocks, their strength, their stability. It was just, and the beauty and the messages they tell. And that's what my love for the rocks and connection to nature started. And I was born in Peru, a country with complex geology and mainly polymetallics with zinc, lead, precious metals. And so I was interested in zinc for some reason, metals, because it was the progression of rocks, I guess. And so my first intern was in a zinc refinery. And then I saw quite a lot of waste material contaminated with iron that was difficult to separate. So I was curious about it, and then set out to unlock that mystery, and went to Belgium to do a PhD in to figure out how to separate the zinc from iron, and realize all of this was applied in the field of steel, because zinc protects the steel from corrosion, and therefore I ended up in the world of galvanizing. And with a name of Galvez and galvanizing, it looked quite interesting. So, tell you just a story. I was entering London in immigration, and they asked me, "Where are you going?" And I say, "I'm going to a galvanizing conference to give a talk." I was already in the US by then, and they look at my name. It was Galvez, galvanizing. Are you kidding? I said, "No, it's true." It is true. That's what I work on. I guess they know what galvanizing was. So that's what I study. The kinetics of reaction of iron and zinc, and then ended up in the steel industry, which Belgium was a big processor of zinc and steel at that time in the 80s. So therefore I became specialized in galvanizing, galvannealing, and therefore I was invited to join a company in the US to work on this, to develop products for better materials, better protection for the automotive industry. At that time, this company wanted to capture business from a Japanese, from Honda, and therefore that was my first job in the US. And so I continue in this work, and I guess I was fascinated because of this link between protection to the environment, and then since my love for nature has always been there, and I've been working on my life to figure out my relationship to nature. So after nearly a whole career, ended up in sustainability and developing a method that's called Designing Sustainable Prosperity. And it enables the creation of resilient and sustainable regions.
Wow, that's amazing. And I was hearing everything and such passion that comes from your words. It's amazing to see how one thing led to the next, and then you were finding links that ultimately get you to where you are now, making that link more broadly
Yeah.
to sustainability from something as small as materials and galvanizing and all that. So how is that for people that are listening to us? Sometimes it's easier to say, okay, sustainability, that's for someone else. Yeah, materials engineers, we don't have to deal with that. That's not our role. So what will you say it's the connecting pieces, or how is this important for people like us?
We need materials to live.
Mhm.
If you don't have these materials, we just as well end. We need both. I think, my love of nature and the protection to nature and development. We need both. We need development and we need sustainability. I believe I'm building a bridge within both. I believe it's possible to create a bright future. It's not one or the other. It is both, and it's possible.
Mhm.
And this is what I've been encapsulated in the book, in the method. So because in the future, we cannot continue doing things like we did in the past. We can have another industrial revolution. But yes, so this is a green way for a green future. The new ways of doing things, but still expanding and developing. And right now, our biggest challenge is, of course, the global warming, and therefore the whole energy transition. And for the energy transition, we need a lot more minerals and metals than ever before. So this is a time for the industry to play a key role, become a force for good and become a catalyst to create prosperity in the regions where we operate, but also provide the materials for the energy transition faster than ever before in a more responsible way, protecting the environment and improving the quality of life. And I believe it's possible, but we need to work all together and think differently. So I started a movement, accelerating the transformation, because this is our chance, our unique chance to take this opportunity and deliver those materials, but at the same time, leave behind a bright future for generations to come.
Totally. And it is, you remind me of, we had in the podcast Alicia Valero, and she's studying from the materials point of view, the minerals in the world that are coming into depletion. And you said it before, in order to do this transition effectively, we'll need more materials, more minerals, and some of them are going to be scarce at some point. So what are some solutions that, through your experience, you can share with us, that how can we, I guess, tackle that challenge?
The quantity of materials that are needed, I think it's mainly in exploration, because we have to find more sources of materials. And our previous experience, it's really because of the way investments are attracted to our industry, is sort of discovering in a safe way. So you sort of have an idea where an opportunity, commercial opportunity is, and you may raise some funds and explore in a certain area and get more funding and continue exploring within the same area for safety and continue, and perhaps not exploring wider areas where there be greater opportunities. Perhaps the earth has a lot more opportunities of great economical or commercial ore bodies, but we need to think differently. So there is some work. I've just been at the Silicon Valley at the Mineral X, and Jeff Kyers from Stanford University, reimagining exploration with science-based, using all these advanced tools with machine learning and artificial intelligence, probabilistic tools, the whole science and the data to manage better uncertainty and figure out where to drill first, where to explore first, to gather information, and then in real time feedback the information to figure out where is the next, and not explore where there is something, but rather find information and therefore widen your search and the opportunities to find better opportunities. So, and then the investment also changes because it's higher risk and higher rewards. So it changes entirely, but So the financing will be structured differently, but also the exploration strategy in order to go for the biggest thing. And then, of course, once we have more discoveries, to accelerate, because it looks like it takes from maybe about 10 years from exploration to discovery today. But then developing the project is maybe another 20 years, depends what it is, could be 15, 20 years. For a big copper project, probably total 30 years. So some of these investors telling us, what's wrong with you? Why does it take you so long? And to accelerate that, then and half of those issues in developing the project is in the permitting in some locations. And therefore, I believe, if we act differently at the beginning of the project, explore all the possible opportunities of the region, collaborating with the locals. And then once we have built trust and being known to them that we have good intentions, because the priority, I guess, for all of us going in a region should be the regional prosperity.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what stays. A project comes and go. Natural resources have a finite life. So if you come in as a guest into a house with an intention to be a friend forever and leave a lasting impact, without having us doing it, but leaving better conditions for things to happen. To be sustainable, locals have to drive their business. And therefore, they have to be other business that are ideally suited to those regions for them to drive their future. So the extractive industry becomes a catalyst, an enabler for a regional prosperity. So you come in first and this is all about designing sustainable prosperity. It's a systems design where the extractive industry becomes one component of this system. So if you come in with intention, with the target being the regional prosperity, and in the short, medium term, the extractive of the resources in a most responsible way, that means protecting the environment, improving the quality of life of people. By doing so, by exploring all possible opportunities at the beginning for the future of the region, you have better reception, but also open the region for attractiveness for investment. And this is all, again, in the method design sustainable prosperity. And the reason I work on that is because natural resource rich regions, we seem to be a bit more comfortable with staying in the extraction of the natural resources. And there's no crisis for us to do it differently. And therefore, there's a method with practical steps structured for anybody to follow. Because we all agree what we want to see in the future, but how we get there. So it's there. So in order to not have the need to say permitting is what takes time. So if you get the permitting out of the way, that's nearly half of the time, but of course shorten. And then having better acceptance is better flow for the project, but also using all the advanced techniques, digital twins, using artificial intelligence, doing things in parallel, therefore doing things early on can, I believe, significantly cut the time of development, and therefore to deliver the materials needed, essential for the energy transition in the most responsible way, by also doing something good for the future of those regions we were hosts. We were hosted in.
Wow, this is amazing. I hear so many new concepts that is not new. Is we always knew we needed to do, for example, a better design will cut our impact on environment by 70-80%. But that now involving all those other steps of having the buy-in from the community, understanding their concerns, having that dialogue is almost like a collaborative effort where everyone is invited to the table. And then we can hear and then we can say, okay, hear what you're saying, now hear these options. And then now we can have an educated decision that will be in an overall will help the project be successful and sustainable in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to make a comment there because today, because in many regions, rural or semi-rural, the mining company could be the only provider of income.
Yeah.
A big issue is that there's nobody else, so that one becomes the target. And a lot of these companies are doing amazing stuff, but it's still dependency on the mining company. So they are telling them what to do. It's from outside in.
Mm-hmm.
And telling them, we're going to do this, it's going to be good, we're going to work together. So, and no matter how wonderful things they're doing, they're still disliked.
Mm-hmm.
And they are at the edge of any time they can be stopped. So what I'm talking about is way beyond that. It's not engaging, it's not telling, it's not from outside in, it's from inside out. So we come to a region, we become we become the catalyst, the enabler, not the bad father that I give you, then I leave you worse off when I was when I arrived. So you get out of the spotlight and become one of the key players. Although you're a big investor, act as one of the components of the ecosystem, as one of the investors. And designing sustainable prosperity is about bringing everyone to the table, but we are one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, because if we cannot diversify an economy in a host region, because that's not our expertise, unless we want to invest in other things. But this enabling, bringing everyone to the table to work together and de-risk the region with other players coming to invest beyond mining. So that's what I just wanted to clarify. So it's not continuing the status quo that I am it and I give, and in some cases take the role of the government. That's not our competency, and it's not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay your taxes, your royalties, everything, and gifts left and right, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
The key is really coming as one of the key players and enabling the empowerment of the local communities for them to unleash their greatness and operate from there. To be sustainable, they have to drive their businesses. And so they are wonderful examples, but here the key is cut the dependency.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's from inside out, so that it's
Wow.
resilient and
Yeah,
sustainable.
that's
Yeah.
very powerful because we have always spoken in the podcast about, for example, the other day we had a guest and we spoken about how, like, if you go to the doctor and the doctor is smoking and he's like, smoking is bad for you, but he's smoking. He's like, are you going to believe him or not? And here what we're talking about is you take your health in your hands, you take your region in your hands, and then you empower those decisions from the inside, which will get then the sustainable piece that we want to see, because then it is not like the bad dad, like you were saying, is empowering. So it's very interesting. I'm wondering how it is being received by the government, or maybe not the communities that you're working on what experiences have you had?
Yeah, great question. This is a new way of, as I explained, it changes the way it
Mhm,
requires to think differently, to do things differently.
mhm,
So, because right now we are still in a mining centric mindset. Everything starts and ends on the mine, and mine is guilty for everything. And although they're doing amazing stuff, it's not recognized. So it's really coming out of that vicious circle and look at as an ecosystem
mhm.
solution, but we're not doing it. Mining is not doing alone. It's a co-created process. And so it's a new way of doing things. It's not air shattering. It's not how I haven't invented things. I put together all disciplines, all the things that work well in other disciplines, and integrate them and use the project management discipline, the problem solving of engineering to be practical and structured so that it's actionable.
Mhm.
It's taking nearly 17 years on the making, so developing, implementing at high levels with 6 high level studies, and then nearly 3 years in doing the book. And
Wow.
everything is in the book. So I'm not holding any IP. It's there for everybody to make it better because it's a new way of doing things. People have to look at it, have better ideas. It's from all of us, for all of us.
Oh, wow. This is amazing, Doris. And how can people get the book? Like, is it in Amazon? Is it like how they can get a hold of the book?
The book is coming out in a few weeks, first week of August.
Amazing.
And it'll be first, it's published by Wiley. And it was even hard to find a publisher because this is not, we are a silo world. It
Yeah.
doesn't fit in economic development. It doesn't fit in engineering. It doesn't fit in mine if it's everywhere. So it's because it's timely, people are looking at, and it's because now it's needed. And therefore they've been able to fast track the publication of the book. And it will be launched first in the US and then I think Asia, Europe, all over the world, and will be also available on Amazon. But if in anybody can just go to Wiley, huge publisher in the US, and the pre-order is already in there.
Okay. So they can pre
And
order.
and we managed to get 12 amazing reviews from key players of the industry and outside of the industry. And so it's all in there on the website of Wiley.
That's amazing. Congratulations. It's a huge step. And like, it must be so many challenges and hurdles that you have had to jump in those 17 years. I can only imagine because you're bringing not only all the baggage, and we speak a lot about women in STEM and how we are the minority and the immigrant women in STEM. And so, but then here is another added level, which is now what? Think different. And this can work. It's never done, but we'll think different. We'll do it better. And here it is. So, is there any of those moments that you can remind now that you say, okay, yeah, that was especially hard,
Yeah.
but that taught me this? What will you say?
Yeah. So I will answer in a minute, but I wanted to add to you ask how it's been received. First, because the way we think now is mind centric. So we look at through the boundaries of a project from our own needs. We don't look at it as a whole ecosystem. Although we are making efforts to look at our impacts in a wider scale. And also we are looking at ways to have economic benefits in the region. But I'm focusing in the resilience and the long-lasting prosperity.
Mhm.
And therefore, it has to be whatever's ideal for the region and using science for that. So it has two components, is scientific component in this societal transformation. So it's way different than anything we do. That's why it's not that easy to explain. Put it in a book so everybody can read.
For sure.
And and the difficult moments, yes, of course, I'm a change agent, and I love being a change agent. But the consequences are that people resist change, and therefore, I had to learn through my career to live happily without having anyone, not everyone with you, but focusing on the right people. So first, with a PhD in metallurgy, I started in leadership, my first job in leading research. So it was fine leading research. I think we're easier people. So no issues. But I keep going up, director, chief technology officer, then it was harder. It wasn't harder from the fact being a woman minority, never had any issues on that. The issues were being a change agent. So, because people resist change, it's natural. and I tell you, to tackle climate change, we need to think differently. We are talking about the right words, but we are not acting differently. We are ever consuming, like it's never tomorrow. We keep doing things same way as we did before and expect different results. It's not going to happen. So being a change agent and changing in a bigger scale, because I worked for the first 15 years for major global corporations, operating companies producing steel and aluminum. So in the US, but operating globally. So I think the hardest was the culture. For me, first going from my culture into European culture and then to the US corporate culture and being a change agent. So disrupting everything and then living with the consequences. So of course, it wasn't easy, but I think my strength is my connection and love for nature. And every week I have to be in nature to resource myself to have another week, to survive another week. And so accepting and embracing that you're not going to be liked by everyone,
Wow, that's a huge lesson.
but also being so happy, equally excited when things do not work and when they work, because we're just learning. So for me, it was progressive to really get more and more comfortable. This is happening. Look how much we're learning. And sometimes I enjoy more when something didn't work, because look, you learn more from that. Look, and you come stronger for the next one and even a bigger change.
Yeah.
So this has been for me a passion. I've done with 100%. And just see life as just learning. It's just battles to overcome. But the war isn't there yet. It's just practicing for the war. But eventually you'll really be ready for that. And then another aspect is whatever is happening, it's not happening to me. It's just happening for me to learn. And therefore, if I get myself entangled in the drama of life, but I have control on how to take it. So just really maturing on this, taking me 30 years, and I'm more and more comfortable, just overjoyed every day with whatever happens. My joy is forevermore never touched.
Wow. This is so powerful. And you're the second person that comes to the podcast and says, this is just, learnings. And it's funny because, I named my company Infinity Growth. And then when I did so, I had a lot of people coming at me like, "You're crazy. How you can name an engineering company Infinity Growth? It has to be something something consultant, something something engineering." Like I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I because I think there is, and it's I really agree with you on that. That there are not good or bad decisions. They're just decisions, and they're all for the good of ourselves and for our best benefit to learn. And if we learn every day with what you said is very important. Like I enjoy good and bad moments, challenges and opportunities, triumphs. And because when you start seeing it from that angle, then it changes the whole perspective. And it's not like you're not stumbling on how could I do better, or is this okay? So learning, like you said, stand up, go again with more tools now because you've understood something, and then you go with more fire with the tools that you have just learned. And I can tell you countless of people that have come to the podcast have said exactly what you said. Defeat teaches you more than triumph. So when you are in those failure moments, you learn a lot if you allow yourself to see it that way. So that's really interesting. The other piece that I loved of what you say is that you need that recharged. So and I'm looking at your window outside and it's beautiful trees and nature.
Yeah.
And I just picture yourself going out and getting that connection. Are there any other things that you do to have your self-care and have that, I guess, peace of mind and then growth for you?
Nature is the biggest for me, and all my life is my connection, my relation to nature and the sun.
Mhm.
The sun, coming from a country where my ancestors just worship the sun. I guess I need to see the sun every morning, every day, and I just I think I just use the sun as a friend for information. So anyway, the sun is life. When you see what it does, you put a seed somewhere. It's the soil, it's the water, and the sun, and suddenly they grow. So I'm fascinated by life sprouting out of everything everywhere. So I'm fascinated by life.
Amazing.
And that's what nurtures me. And I work very hard, but every week I need to resource myself as much as possible to be in nature, in a garden, or every form of life. Just observe all the beauty that's around us, that's flourishing, to remind us this world is beautiful and we live in a benevolent world.
Totally. Totally. And sometimes we take things for granted, right?
Yeah.
And then it's those little moments that get us to put our foot again on earth and say, "Hey, this is just amazing to be able to breathe, to be able to
Yeah.
walk, to watch that butterfly."
Yeah, but also, how it's interconnected, how the system works, how it keeps, how the balance works in nature. We have so much to learn to mimic that and apply in our innovations, in our solutions to tackle climate change and so on. In materials, learn from it. Look at the engineering that the ants do. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
so much there to understand, to question, to observe, to learn. Life is just learning.
Yeah.
It's all about learning.
Yeah. Amazing. There is almost time to go. I told you at the beginning it goes so fast always, and I'm like, oh, I wish I can have 3 more days with you. But is there any message to the audience of material business that you want to tell people that are listening to us or watching us? What will you say to them?
I guess cultivate insatiable curiosity and ask questions. Challenge the status quo. Inspired by nature. Learn, understand. And with a better understanding, we can be kinder to ourselves, kinder to our environment, and help us to make the right decisions to create a bright future for generations to come.
Amazing closeout. Thank you so much, Doris, for being with us today. Thank you for the time. I know you have been traveling and doing a lot of work, so thank you for giving us this space. I'm sure all the material business community will enjoy this episode very much. And then we'll keep on the next podcast, and we'll bring someone else to talk about beautiful things on the material side and hooking it up with sustainability and all that. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Monica.